views and opinions expressed by the participants in this program are those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Gray Media Inc., KTVF, my mother, or the Commissioner of Baseball.
This is a Okay, check. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Lucky number 13. What could possibly go wrong? Welcome to Interior Insights. I'm J.R. Lewis. We are in the KTVF magical studio of podcasting, and our website is webcenterfairbanks.com. Our app is Alaska's news source, Fairbanks. And if you would like to email me, by all means, go to the device of your choice and simply punch up jrlewis@ktvf11.com, and I will receive your email. And if it's something to share on the show, then we'll do that. And if it's not, then we won't. And I've been having some good email conversations with people recently about guest possibilities. Now that I'm done being away, I can tell you now that we're finished that actually my wife Leslie and I took my folks on a cruise out to Hawaii, not only to have fun, but also to collect oral histories, which was a delightful project. My dad, of course, being Alaska Hall of Fame broadcaster Jay Lewis, had a lot to say. Mom got a little more to the point, so hers won't require as much post-production. But we had a good time, and it was fun to be able to check in and see that the shows that we pre-recorded were playing. But back at it now. And this week we are going to visit with Alex Bengel again, part 2 of spending some time with our local reporters so you can learn what they're all about and where they're coming from and what reporting means to them and so forth. If you missed the last one, it's on the website or the app or on your Apple TV or your Roku, other places where those streaming apps are for your television. So if you want to make a full screen, I mean, if you've got an 80-inch screen, just imagine how good my pores will look. Don't do that. Anyway, so Alex this week. And then next week, I believe we're going to visit with Tracy Van Airstale, who is the current president of one of the Rotary clubs, the one that I was fortunate to join, thanks to the invitation of John Tollerud of the Salvation Army. And she and I have been trying for weeks to find a mutual window. I was finally able to interview her, and that's a good show, so you can learn all about Rotary. As far as news, which, again, we like to have be kind of from the standpoint of just in case you missed it when the story came out on the news. Whoa, I just smacked a highlighter. That's violent. In case you missed the story when it came out on the news, interesting things that are happening that are focused on Fairbanks or stories in which Fairbanks was involved. And it turns out former Congresswoman Mary Peltola, who served in the U.S. House of Representatives from 2022 to 25 and is now running for U.S. Senate against incumbent Dan Sullivan, she kicked off her campaign with an event at Trailbreaker Kennel, which I am very familiar with, in Fairbanks. And as it turns out, as luck would have it, the reporter is the same person I'll be interviewing in a little while, Alex Bengel. Here's what he saw.
Mary Peltola saying the stakes are high and the energy is electric at the first campaign stop of her Senate run. Peltola made history in 2022 when she won the special election to fill the remainder of Don Young's seat in the House of Representatives, making her the first woman and the first Alaska Native representative of Alaska in the U.S. House. Dozens of supportive community members gathered at Trailbreaker Kennel to meet Peltola and to hear her speak. Peltola saying she learned from the 2024 election, where she lost her re-election campaign to the U.S. House to Republican Nick Begich.
There is no sitting this election cycle out. There's too much on the line. We are right at this point where we know we have to participate. We know we have to get as many marginal voters as we can engaged, having a voting plan, making sure everyone in your universe is registered to vote, knows how to vote, has a plan to vote. We've got to get out and vote.
Peltola is running against Republican incumbent Dan Sullivan. Alex Bengel, Alaska's news source.
Thank you for that, Alex. And his more comprehensive written story is available at webcenterfairbanks.com, as is all the work of our local reporters, Alex, Adrian, and Matt. Moving on to our calendar. The Big Social Hour, Thursday, January 29th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Latitude 65 Brewing Company, 150 Eagle Avenue, Unit B in Fairbanks. What is it all for? What is it all about? Well, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Alaska, hosting a big networking night with apps, taps, and non-alcoholic drinks on them. Open to any and all adults with big hearts. You can join in to socialize with bigs and friends of BBBSAK. That's a very long acronym. Learn how you can volunteer to mentor youth and also enter to win door prizes. Again, that's Thursday the 29th. This calendar information, again, taken from our calendar at webcenterfairbanks.com, where you are, of course, welcome to submit things that you'd like the community to know about. On page 2, we have the Sons of Norway. Hang on, I'm going to have to look this up so I say it right. No, I don't prep for this show. Prep is for mortals. It's lutefisk. And I would have been right, by the way. That is the way I was going to say it. The Sons of Norway, lutefisk, and Swedish meatball dinner coming up on the 31st. That's Saturday, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And they say, our local Arctic Viking Lodge of Sons of Norway invite you to our annual traditional lutefisk and Swedish meatball dinner, complete with all the trimmings and dessert. Adult tickets, $27. Youth ages 9 to 14 are $12. Children under 8 are free. There'll also be musical entertainment, as well as door prizes, silent auction. Come join the fun with others of Scandinavian or any heritage. All are welcome. Again, see all of our calendar events at webcenterfairbanks.com. And now we will continue our conversation that we started last time with our senior local reporter, Alex Bengel, very talented in this humble broadcaster's opinion, and as his former copy editor, in which I never had to change anything, it didn't seem like. Good guy. I hope you saw part 1 last time. If not, it's in the archive, and we'll pick up here where we left off last time on Interior Insights number 13. What would be the most challenging part of being a reporter, do you think? Or what has it been for you?
I would say that it's what we're talking about, doing stories that hit people on a personal level, and having to be the person who is reaching out to and is making an ask, an interview, a statement, a story, from people who have other things on their minds right now. It's a difficult role to balance, because as a reporter, I am also a member of this community. Oftentimes I know people that are in my stories and have known them since before I became a reporter, but I have a job to do. And ultimately, like, if I feel that a story is important to the public, that it's important that they know this information, I have to kind of push down those personal feelings for or against the people that I'm asking this from, and sort of treat it as impartially and professionally as possible. That can be a challenge, because I'm not in this business to make anybody uncomfortable or to put people in a position where they feel pressured to do something for me. Ultimately, like, can you do me this favor as a journalist and get me an interview or anything like that? Like, it's not about me. And why should they care? But I have to ask. I have to be in that position.
Is that process of having to separate your opinion from your professional responsibility, is that an ongoing challenge, do you find, or is it something you adapt to after a while?
I would say it's always a challenge. Like, certainly there is some level of adaptation. The more political stories you write, the more stories about issues that come up in town, controversies. Like, it is, you do develop a pattern for how you convey opinions, how you structure a story to give that equal time. But I would never want it to like exit my mind that I have opinions on the things that I'm reporting on, that I have preconceived biases. Like, it's unreasonable to ask a journalist not to have opinions. You know,
Sure.
They're human beings.
Right.
They spend all day mired in these issues. You can't come away with that without having an opinion. It's whether or not you can push those down for the sake of objectivity. And sometimes I also start to become aware of overcompensation, that when I feel a certain way on an issue, I'll incidentally maybe start to emphasize the opposite point in an effort to be impartial. Because
So it feels more to you,
right, like
it's balanced, because
right.
you're trying to offset your own feelings about it.
Exactly, and then that's why it's good to have multiple sets of eyes on every story. Is like somebody else can read and be like, hey, you're given this a little bit more than this. Why don't we balance this up a little bit?
I was going to ask you about that, actually. When we were talking earlier about the steps for accuracy and fairness, is that something that can be collaborative, where you can work with fellow reporters or just other people in the building and take a look at this and see if you think it's whatever you're trying to avoid?
Oh yeah, it should be. It should never be like up to one person to make that determination. There's so many things that you miss when you're mired in a story, when you spend hours and hours agonizing over every sentence, every word, every aspect of an interview. It's easy to kind of lose the forest for the trees. And so it's always important to have somebody else looking that over. And that can be any number of people, producers, digital editors. And that was part of my job when I worked as an anchor, as I'm sure you experienced this as well, doing the morning show. That
there was never anybody here when I was here. But go ahead.
Sure. But what you had to do, like, ultimately, you're the one that has to read the script that goes on air. So I felt like it was our job to sort of look at a story with an eye to, can I defend this? Because ultimately, people aren't seeing the work that went into the story. They're only seeing you read it.
Right.
So I would often find myself as that final voice before it went to air, like, hey, can we rephrase these few words, because this sounds a little leading to me. This sounds a little bit partisan. And I would go to the reporter directly if there was time. If it was 2 minutes before broadcast, I would exercise a little bit of editorial control. Just like, okay, I'm rephrasing this. But usually if I had a chance to read the script in advance, I'd just go to the reporter and be like, hey, you cool with this change? Because,
it's funny. I completely forgot that I was right in the middle of all that with you guys, too, because I was the copy editor for about 12 years. I totally spaced that out.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah.
You were often
lots of eyes.
A very good voice of like, of like, hey, well, a lot of the best ones were like, just simple grammatical and AP style mistakes, and like I would spend all day in a story, and you would remind me of something that I should have noticed like 5 minutes in, that I just wrote the entire story with this mistake as part of it. I'm like, thank God for JR.
Oh, now.
To see through. Oh my goodness. It really comes in handy to have that set.
That collaboration then is good. Have you ever interviewed somebody on a topic that you were pretty sure you had your sense of it formulated, and then the interview actually changed your mind about it?
I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head where, I suppose, I do, as a human being, I'll go into an interview and think, okay, here's this issue. I'm curious how they're going to defend this position on this particular issue, and then hear something that I'd never heard before. I couldn't say any without giving away what some of my preconceived opinions were. But I have found myself moving, like adjusting my perspective on certain issues, viewing them as more complicated than I did before I started, because ultimately I do get to talk to people who are experts on a subject and people who are in it day in and day out, formulating opinions and using them for a practical purpose. I'm thinking of politicians at this point. And, it is, I think, a valuable exercise to be constantly exploring people who disagree with you on an issue.
Sure.
Because it turns out most things are more complicated than either side of the political spectrum, the more extreme you get, are going to make them out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I have noticed that a lot in this job, that like it has made me respect the complexity of issues more.
Yeah, and if you don't talk to people outside maybe the typical sphere of folks you might want to hang out with, and you don't learn nothing.
And it's right. It's getting. I do think it's escalating in this country. There are just more and more ways online that people have to insulate themselves. Algorithms that focus on outrage, algorithms that focus on what are you going to click on? Well, you seem to really like hearing this person talk about this issue from this point of view, so we're going to fill your feed with all that. And it's
not because we're trying to make you smarter or a better person, but because we want you to come back.
Doesn't enter into it. So what ends up happening,
There's something we could spend an hour and
and
5 days working on. Is there anything, what's something maybe about your daily work routine that might surprise people that they wouldn't expect as a reporter, is something that they have to deal with?
I can say what surprised me was the amount of time I spend at a desk looking at a computer screen each day, because when you think of reporters, when I think of reporters, a lot of times I would think of people out on the beat with a microphone or with a pen and a pad talking to people, and that is an important part of the job. But a lot of it is the preparation. A lot of it is going back and translating what you've got out in the field into something that's digestible via reading, via the newscast. It's a lot of time spent at the computer. In the community, I got a lot of people when I was an anchor who thought that was all I did. Who would be like, "Hey, so must be a pretty cushy job. You show up, you read the news for a couple hours, you go home." And I'm like, "Well, that's actually just a very small portion of what I do. The rest of it, I am a reporter." And yeah, they seemed surprised to hear that I wasn't. Maybe there's an image of like the glossy
salon quality hair,
right? And the national level. Reporters. I think, was it Mary Tyler Moore Show had the anchor character who was completely uninformed about any of the issues. And that was the comedy bit, was he goes on and he reads like he's an expert, but actually he's none of that.
Knows nothing.
Is
there anything that you wish the public understood better about this kind of work?
Yes. I one thing that I've has come across when I talk to members of the public who sometimes email the station, sometimes call in and give like comments, is a perception that that if I've reported on something that they disagree with, or that maybe they see what they perceive as a flaw in my reporting, that they chalk it up to either negligence or outright bias. I know that there are people out there who think that if I report on an issue a certain way, it's because I'm really representing a party, or I'm representing the money that backs me, or that corporate is forcing me to report in a certain way. And a lot of times in those conversations, I'll just explain in simple terms, like my thought process behind, here's why I didn't ask this question, because this comes across this way. I was going to ask that question. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. I was going to report on that story. Unfortunately, I was out sick that day, and we didn't have the reporters to go through that. And so to understand that usually there's a reason. If something happened, if I've reported on something that you disagree with, it is not out of thoughtlessness, and it is certainly not because I'm backed by a major organization that's forcing my hand, that's writing my story for me and just throwing my name on it. That when I report things, when I phrase something in a certain way, when I spend this much time on an issue or go this deep into an issue and maybe no further, there's always a reasoning behind it. Everything that goes into everything that I report is put together painstakingly, word by word, detail by detail, and I don't know, maybe to give me the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah, or at least be willing to have the conversation before prejudging.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to have a conversation about that, and I love having them because it is a chance to defend my work, which is not an opportunity that we get very often. A lot of times, we report and then we leave it. We don't engage in comment sections. And so if somebody has a mistaken impression of our work and then they put it online with all these labels, that gets all the traction, and there's not really an opportunity to defend if they don't talk to us about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's just become so easy now to just shovel stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've talked about a lot of the challenges that are involved, but what would you say you enjoy the most about working in this field?
Relationships that I've made with people in the community based on a sense of respect for the work that each of us does. My favorite part of any job I've ever worked is the relationships that I have with my coworkers, that I have with the public. The opportunity to engage with people and talk with them is a major driver for me as a human being. And this job gives you so much opportunity to do that and to spend all day learning, all day, every day, learning new things. I don't retain it all. If I retained 10% of what I reported on, I would be so much smarter. But unfortunately, with the deadline cycle, a lot of it does pop right out of short-term memory once I focus on the next story.
But you're engaged, you're fully in it when you're in it.
Right, and I'm talking with these people who are experts in a subject. For instance, I'll be talking to a scientist about why this particular project is interesting to the public, and he'll go into these details, and it's my job to take this expert speak and translate it into terms that I might be able to understand, or that somebody who's not as familiar would be able to understand. And that involves having to have a level of understanding myself in order to be able to do that. So I get to just ask all these questions. If anything's confusing me, I can phrase it in a certain way. I can repeat what they said back to them in a different way just to make sure that I understand what they're saying. And with some people, politicians, certain experts, people up at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, I get to do this multiple times. Pretty regularly, honestly. Some people I get to have an ongoing rapport with, and I love having that. I've met so many people in the community as a result of this job, and have gotten to be a part of it. And to be able to do that while doing something that I believe in from the bottom of my heart, like the mission of a journalist, is a real gift.
You talked about over 5 years, you covered so many stories, it's tough to even keep them in your head. But is there that one story or that one assignment that really stands out as the most meaningful for you so far?
The most meaningful. I get a lot of meaning out of reporting on efforts of local nonprofits, Breadline, Fairbanks Community Food Bank. This isn't necessarily a nonprofit, but when they were implementing the Crisis Now system of emergency response in the city, like, these are stories that I felt a special meaning behind because you can see the day-to-day impacts that they have on these organizations' ability to get their job done. The ability to get the word out about what they do and to bring that to people's attention. I had heard firsthand, I have heard firsthand about kind of the impact that can have immediately upon our reporting. Election season is by far the most exhilarating part of my job. I believe in an informed electorate as a cornerstone of democracy. I'm sure I'm the first person to ever think that. Thomas Jefferson never said
heard
anything
that
about
before.
No, but I believe in that strongly, and to have that as a mission that I can focus on for a matter of weeks of just putting as much information out there for people as possible is something I believe in.
Well, and I want to give you a pat on the back in that regard, because in the over the years the years that I've been here, I started in 2012, and certainly we were covering everything. But this, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that you're the one that I remember anyway, starting this idea of the full candidate interviews, not just the ones making news or the ones trending on social media or anything, but every single candidate for every office. So there really was, by the time your series was done, there was an opportunity for people to hear directly from everybody that was going to be on the ballot. And that's some good work. I was really impressed with that all those years.
I appreciate that. I inherited the mission from Sarah Tewksbury, who was the election person. I don't know how long it had been going on, but the effort over the years that we did it was twofold: to make it new each year, to find new ways of setting up the interviews, of structuring, and to sort of streamline it. I remember the first year I came in, 2020, it was a big election year. We had national elections, state elections, and I remember each candidate had their own news story, and it was sort of scattershot. We didn't organize them by race. We didn't necessarily have one running each day. We'd do an interview, and then as soon as we could, we'd get that turned and put that out. So over a course of months, you'd see a candidate here, a candidate there. And then the next year, we tried to make it so that every candidate had their own slot, but we organized them by race. And then the next year, we organized them by race. And then
just to be clear, we're talking about the seat they're running for, right, and not what other minds might jump to in these highly interesting times.
We did not organize our candidates based on their race, based on the seat
race
for which they were running. Yes.
You just can't be too careful, Alex.
No, I appreciate you. Second set of eyes. This is good. Yes, no, that did not factor into in any way into the order in which we broadcast these, but we started trying to put them into like a 2-week block instead of like across months. We'd make them this, and then we made it so that each story was a particular seat, and each candidate would have half of that story, and they would run over a shorter period of time so that people didn't have to necessarily tune into the news every day for a month in order to get everything. And we just tried to organize it so that it became more of a thing. And from the community, I heard from somebody who went to West Valley High School that their students use those when doing research for like kids voting and elections. as just like a civics project or a government project, whatever the class may be.
That's got to feel good.
It's a good
passing
feeling,
it on to the youngsters.
Right, of the value that journalism can have, community-based journalism, local journalism.
So there isn't like one particular story. For you, it's just more different categories. There's not like a one that just is like, man, I'm always going to remember that.
Well, when you ask, when you put it that way, as like stories that I'll remember, as opposed to the ones that necessarily had like this deep meaning. There were two that are the most fun stories. Something that I'm going to say three now because I'm thinking of more. But one of the best things about being a journalist is sometimes the access that you get. And I was doing a story on the Into the Wild bus when they the Chris McCandless bus, when they took that from out near Denali and put that at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. They were getting ready to clean it up and stuff. And so I was taking footage of the bus and I got to get up close. And then they were like, "You want to go inside?" And I'm like, sure. Took some footage inside. Just before the Polaris building started coming down, when they'd taken out, just before they took out the annex at the beginning of, I think it was April, May 2023, I set it up with the city to take us on a tour, me and a camera person, Sean from the studio, to go on a tour of all the floors and like see the inside of the building now. And then in by far the largest scale story I ever did was the Arctic Road Rally in summer of 2022, August 2022, when a bunch of people decided to drive electric cars from Fairbanks up to the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah.
And so I got this idea, like, what if I went alongside them, grabbed a station vehicle, and maybe got in front of them and filmed them coming into the charging stations, filmed them and so we pitched it, and it was accepted as like a story that like, okay, you're going to take a few days, you're going to go up with them, you're going to do interviews with the people, with people at Prudhoe Bay about sort of how they feel about this happening. And then come back and turn it into like 3 or 4 stories. And so I got to just spend a few days, got to go up to the Arctic Ocean with them. And it was an incredible experience that I feel like I wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or money to do that in my free time.
That's right.
It's just like,
you also don't have any free time, so
right.
Who needs that?
So
well, then of course I can't let you out of here without mentioning your experience when you had to love this job so much you actually had to live here for a while.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yes. This was December to January. Like this was right around the end of the year, December 2021, when we had the winter storm, the terrible one. What do people call it? Snowpocalypse, something like that.
There's always a name.
And at the time, I was living in a dry cabin out off kind of some of the major roads. And to get down to that was a major kind of slope that I did not feel comfortable trying to get my car down, and knew that it would never get back up if I managed it. So it's like Sunday, and I'm driving around, and I'm like, okay, I better just go to the station. I can charge my phone. My phone's dying. I need to get somewhere out of this. And sure enough, I ended up staying the next 2 or 3 nights at the station because, after the snow, of course, came a large layer of ice, which was going to make it even harder to get down that slope to get home. And for all I knew, it hadn't been plowed at all. So I needed to stay. We probably all just kind of figured the world was ending. We had the pandemic, and then we had the weather stuff. And this was it. Yeah. Yeah, well, the final indication.
At least it's our job to pay attention, so if we have to focus on it. Then.
Yeah, I think our news director, our head producer at the time, brought in a cot, which was great, that I could sleep on. Oh, my goodness. That was an interesting couple days.
Quite a way to make a living. Huh? Mm-hmm. Well, I've enjoyed being able to visit with you, Alex. I hope we'll get to do it some more. Maybe any time that a story, because we know how difficult it is sometimes to be able to get as much of a story as you would like out there. And, hopefully we can use this as a way to do that. But I got a lot of respect for you, continuing to hang in there, and I appreciate you taking some time.
It's mutual. I appreciate all that you've done for the news in general.
We'll see.
I mean, out in public, that's so many people are just like, how's JR? Oh my God.
He's in his basement
my
gathering
favorite.
cobwebs. Now, by the way, if you want to be able to get out of this room, you must answer me these questions 3. What is your name?
Alex Bengel.
What is your quest?
To find the Holy Grail.
Very nice. What is the capital of Assyria?
I don't know that.
It's so awful. Thanks again, my friend.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Thank you so much, Alex Bengel, very talented local reporter. We have 2 more reporters here, by the way, Adrian Peterson and Matt Murtis, who I hope to be visiting with soon in similar fashion, so you can get to know them as well. But that was a nice conversation there with Alex. Now, it is time to move on to the Fab Photo of the Week. Fab Photos are the pictures that you send, so we can feature them at webcenterfairbanks.com, so they can possibly end up in our calendar. And, of course, I continue to be very honored that we are an outlet for Fab Photos as well now. And this was a beauty. And, I mean, you kind of knew this was coming after that incredible display of Aurora on the 19th. Northern Lights, January 19th, 2026, Delta Junction, Alaska, photographed by Flower Cole. Now, I know some of you are listening, perhaps on Spotify or over the website on the audio-only option. That's fine, except it makes Fab Photo a little hard. Thankfully, I have invested in the Descriptionator to give you a thorough mental picture of what's going on here.
This striking photo captures the aurora borealis dancing across a dark winter night sky in Alaska. Vibrant green curtains of northern lights illuminate the scene above a snow-covered highway flanked by dense evergreen trees. A small cabin and a decorated Christmas tree with green lights add a festive touch to the remote, snowy roadside setting.
Nicely captured there, Flower. But you know what's interesting? If you take your infrared camera out to view an area like that, the truth is out there. Remember to turn in your photos if you'd like them to be featured in any of the places I mentioned before, including this program. Go to webcenterfairbanks.com and find the Fab Photos section. It's easy, as far as I know. I'm not allowed to turn any in, so I... And now, the balderdash and poppycock that you just can't live without.
It's time for the thing of the day, 'cause every day has things.
January the 26th, our release date for this program, is Dental Drill Appreciation Day. Yes, a tool that often sparks mixed feelings, shall we say. But while the sound may cause unease, the dental drill plays a key role in modern dentistry, helping remove decay, shape teeth, and prepare them for fillings or crowns. Without it, many treatments would be longer and more uncomfortable. Dental Drill Appreciation Day invites us to recognize the drill's contribution to healthier smiles and improved dental care. It symbolizes progress in oral health. Advancements have made drills faster, quieter, and more precise, reducing discomfort for patients. By highlighting this tool, the day encourages conversations about dental health, the importance of regular checkups, and reminds us that even the most daunting instruments can lead to positive outcome when used with care and expertise.
Did I mention how lucky you are to be tuned in for show number 13?
There's even a word for that. I don't know, triskaidekaflatulence something or other. But anyhow, we did it. We survived. And hopefully you'll be back next time for number 14. WebCenterFairbanks.com. Alaska's news source, Fairbanks. That's the app if you want to have us very mobile and on the go. There are apps for most of those things you plug into your TV to watch Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and whatever, and we have an app for that. Want to email me with ideas for shows or some content that you'd like me to share on the program, or just questions or whatever. jrlewis@ktvf11.com. Next week, we talk about Rotary with President Tracy Van Arsdale. And until then, we wish you a very good all the things.